John Cabot, when he visited the Newfoundland, he was astonished to find the amount of fishes in the water body. He, in his own words, he claimed that one need not have used the fishing net but could have used buckets to catch fishes. So many fishes, and fast forward many years later, the whole fishing industry died down, the whole ecology had disappeared, and people wondered as to what really happened. And so, what happened? So, what had happened was that there was a gradual degradation, the gradual loss of ecology, and people were somehow oblivious to that. And if someone were to sort of name that or give a name to this phenomenon, it would be shifting baseline syndrome. It was first coined by Daniel Pauly, and in his own words, it was like this: each generation of fisheries, scientists accepted a baseline of the stock size and the species composition that occurred at the beginning of their careers, and use this to evaluate changes. When the next generation starts career, the stocks have further declined. But it's the stocks that time that serve as a new baseline. The result obviously is a gradual shift to the baseline, a gradual accommodation of the creeping disappearance of resource species. So what has happened is that we've, every new generation, every time we've seen something, we've given a new baseline. We've made a subjective interpretation as that being as to what it is and forgotten what might have been before. And we've lost that. We've somehow junked the data. We've not considered the data as to what history might have been, and we just have adapted to the new circumstance. We've looked at the new circumstance and have taken it as the new baseline. So, one could call it sort of the intergeneration loss, data loss. This intergeneration data loss, which is, one could call it being stupid or blindness. So this is a matter of fact is so true in our lives, and it is so creeping, that is so subtle that, and not very dramatic, that it's insidiously creeping, and we need to be aware of it. And especially true when ecologies are concerned. We are forced to rely on second-hand and anecdotal information, and we don't really consider all the data in its entirety because of as Daniel Pauly said, we've lost the timeline. We've not considered the different timelines. And in if I were to sort of take this in a modern context, in the most current context, people often claim the new normal, and I've seen so many new normals happen so rapidly in my own lifetime. It's not the new normal, and it's not in isolation. It is just the same thing. It's just a new circumstance, it's a new way of operating, a new way of operating environment, and as I said, not in isolation, but a subsequent consequence of what previously was. Usually a degradation, usually a loss, usually something that is inhibited, constrained, rather than something that's expansive, something that's grown. And this subjective evaluation, subjective bias of starting afresh and not considering of what was, and adapting to a current observation and using that as a baseline is something that we should be very concerned about, especially as it concerns to ecological timelines and weather patterns, for example. I think we are in the midst of a climate crisis, and we are sort of oblivious to it because every time we look at it, we have adapted to the new circumstances being the baseline, and it's true for every generation. It's so true for us that somehow because things are not so dramatic, something like an asteroid hitting and changing everything, it is something that is subtle. And we've gradually accepted the new operating environment as the baseline. We've learned to adapt, but not been careful to change our ways. And this is concerning. This is a dangerous trend, and I want to sort of take the summary of this article and sort of emphasize that everyone in each one of us have need to be concerned about what is, and to be carefully evaluate how you've been biased and how a subjective evaluation of new baselines, of these new normals have are taking an increase in toll, or causing an increase in toll in our lifestyles, in the way we lead our lives. And and we need to be careful about it. We need to do something about it, um, and hopefully, in a positive manner, shift the baseline. That is, shift the baseline to back to where it to what it might what and what or closer to being optimal, and before it's too late. And I think because there's a tipping point, there might be a tipping point for everything where things there's no returning back once you hit that tipping point. And this is a concern, and this is something that every one of us need to be aware of, to be concerned about, and to take action wherever possible. Thanks.